All right, everybody. This is Marc the Shark from the Marc the Shark MMA show. And today I got two very special guests, Dan DeLilla and his wife Juliana. I'm over here at the Renzo Gracie Academy over in Ramapo, New Jersey. How you guys doing today?
Yes, sir. Great. Honored to be here.
Today was my first workout in over a year. I'm slowly getting back on the mats due to some injuries, so he put me through the ringer today. So today, the reason why I'm here today is because I've known Dan for some time now. I think he's a great teacher. He really understands technique, and he presents it in a way that you can really understand it. But I like to give people a little insight as to who you are and how you got into jiu-jitsu. So if you give the people out there a little insight on how you got started in the martial arts, like what was your first martial art? Was it jiu-jitsu or was it
absolutely.
else?
So I got started actually in Taekwondo as a kid. I think everyone got thrown into Taekwondo when they were kids. Yeah, so as like a little 5-year-old, I did that. I watched too many Van Damme movies growing up, and I loved doing that. But then, as life went on, I didn't have time to continue. Always wanted to get back into it. The second I had like my own job and can pay for martial arts again, I actually looked for jiu-jitsu, and I was looking around. There was no jiu-jitsu back in the time. It was probably around like 2000 maybe, and there was jiu-jitsu, but very the Renzo Gracie was just in Manhattan. It wasn't at I wasn't at that time at 18 years old going to make the trip over there. I wish I did.
Yeah.
There was a blue belt who was teaching jiu-jitsu, and he just closed down his school. And I had a friend that went there, and I was like, all right, let me do this jiu-jitsu thing. And the guy closed his school, and he's like, yeah, that guy closed down, but I'm going to do this other thing. I'm going to go do Kempo karate. And he's like, it's like, stand up, like street fighting. And so I was like, oh, great, I'll do that. All right. So then I ended up missing out on the opportunity to do jiu-jitsu. And I did Kempo karate for 4 years, and then I was doing that for a while. Loved it. As that time was going on, jiu-jitsu started becoming more popular, and someone actually moved into my hometown, Professor Carl Massaro. And I was like, and coincidentally, there was a guy who did jiu-jitsu previously. He didn't have very much experience. He had like maybe a couple weeks of jiu-jitsu, and he started bringing it into our karate school and started like doing ground fighting with us. And here I was like 4 years into karate, thinking like I could kind of like handle myself, like I'm in a small school, doing well in sparring and beating people up. And this guy who had like a couple weeks of jiu-jitsu came in and was giving me a hard time on the ground. I'm like, Jesus, man, what is this jiu-jitsu stuff? And one thing led to another. I went to a couple different schools. I went with Professor Carl, not only because he was close to me, but because he was a really good instructor. I liked that he was opening up and he didn't have a lot of students. So I think it's really good to, whenever you have an opportunity to go with someone that is like just opening a school, because you get essentially private lessons from the guy. And I'm very thankful for that. And I started jiu-jitsu and then never really looked back. I had like 6 weeks of jiu-jitsu, and then I went back to my karate school, and I was submitting everyone, and it was just like the rest was history. I mean, I still love karate. I have a love for all martial arts, but jiu-jitsu is just like an addiction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kind of had the same thing. Like when I was a kid, I did the karate thing, and then in my karate school, they kind of had a hybrid of different martial arts, like boxing, and then the instructor, Ray Martin, he brought in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And the instructor was this 14-year-old blue belt who was beat. At the time, I was like 27. I was like back then ripped. But he was like toying with me, and then I moved up here, and then I started getting training over in Fairmont. Well, actually at the time, I think he was in Garfield.
Lou
Vitellaro, yeah. I trained with him for a few years till I got injured. But I kind of remember back then it wasn't very few instructors at all.
Yeah.
So you were kind of lucky that Carl opened up the school in your area, especially right where you lived.
Right, yeah.
So moving forward, you started studying, and how long? And then the reason I know Dan is he actually was one of the instructors at Carl's school.
Yeah,
for
I
many
taught
years.
for a long time.
Yeah. So how did you make the transition? Like, what made you decide to open up your own school?
Man, I love martial arts. I've always wanted to have a school. Like back when I was doing Kempo, I was like, I want to have my own Kempo school maybe or something. That was always like just a passion of mine. So I always wanted to do it. It was always a long-term thing. But it just got to the point like, I'll kick the can down the road eventually when I get to that point. Then you're like, I got to get my black belt first, and then I got my black belt. then I was like, man, I want to get better. I want to keep getting better. Focus on that. And then I started getting better and feeling. I was like, you know what? It's time to like, what am I going to do? Am I going to keep waiting, or is like just? I think it's the right time now. Things are lined up. You know, my wife Juliana trains with me. She's a purple belt now, and yeah, it's awesome. We just decided to take this step.
Now here's an interesting question. How did you guys meet?
Jiu-jitsu.
So you had more than one benefit of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You met the woman that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. That's great.
Yeah,
That's
met
great.
my wife. A lot of long-term friends, obviously. Everything. Jiu-jitsu is great. It's got lots of benefits.
So what did you think when you first met him?
He was a great instructor.
Were you like what rank when you guys met?
I was actually
Purple belt.
Middle purple belt probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was funny because every time I was talking to her, because like it was one thing, like she didn't speak. She spoke English, but her English was not that great.
Yeah.
But there's English, and then there's like jiu-jitsu English. Like you're saying like Kimura, armbar, and especially in Renzo Gracie lineage, you're speaking Japanese, some terms Achigarami, and so you're half speaking English, half speaking Japanese, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" So everything I said to her, I'm like, "All right, get the side control, take the arm, take a scoop grip here," and she's like, "Huh?" Everything I said is, "Huh?" And I'm like, "This girl doesn't like understand anything I'm telling her. Like, what the hell are we
He
gonna
was
do?"
very patient with me in the beginning.
Yeah.
So how long did it take him to ask you out? A couple weeks?
We started going
Yeah.
out after class, hanging out after class, like right away.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, grabbing
our-
food here and there, and then
Yeah.
became very friends.
Our first like official date was probably a month or two after she like first came to the school. Yeah.
There you go. Blooming romance. Great, great. Now, one of the things I noticed, because I've been to various different schools throughout my life. One of the things I noticed, particularly with you, I guess you get it from Carl or whatever, or maybe it's part of the Renzo Gracie lineage, is that a lot of the Renzo Gracie schools seem to do takedowns.
Yeah.
Which a lot of other jiu-jitsu schools don't. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know if you like ventured out ever to different.
Yeah, some schools shy away from it. I tend to train with a lot of Renzo schools, and I've been to some other non-affiliate schools. Some drill takedowns, but then like when it's time to go live, everyone just sits their butt. And even within the Renzo Association, some people shy away from takedowns. But I've always loved takedowns. Renzo himself is a judo black belt as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a phenomenal wrestler. Professor Danaher is a fantastic wrestling coach. A lot of people don't even realize how good his wrestling is. And a lot of people within fortunate enough to have a lot of good judo and wrestling guys within the Renzo Association. Travis Stevens, Gary St. Ledger are awesome judo guys, and for a million more people that I can't even think of off the top of my head. But so it's
I went to a Travis Stevens seminar once. He's a very intimidating dude.
Oh yeah, he's a monster.
Like normally, like you look at a guy, right, and you just like have that eye contact. He'll be like, "What's up?" You have eye contact with him, and he looks like he wants to kill you.
Yeah.
And his takedowns were vicious.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's your opinion on that? Like, do you think more jiu-jitsu schools should be doing takedowns?
Do what makes you happy. Like me personally, like I wouldn't be happy doing jiu-jitsu if all I knew how to do was pull guard. Like I'm a big believer in learning how to do at least be competent on your feet. Like if you don't study takedowns, you're not going to be able to defend a takedown. So that's a big thing. It's like, oh, well, I'll just like pull to a safe position. You want to at least know what to do when someone's trying to take you down. You don't have to be an Olympic wrestler or Olympic judoku, but you want to be able to defend a single leg, be confident that like, all right, if they're going for this, I can go for this kind of counter here, or at least you can start to see when things are starting to go wrong, where it's time to abort on trying to take someone down and just be defensive, start pulling offense, use your guard pull as a weapon rather than as your only option.
Yeah. And I find it also kind of funny though, because jiu-jitsu is a ground-based martial art that the way I think, at least, if you happen to get in a street altercation, if you can't take the guy to the ground, jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, is kind of useless.
Yeah, you also want to use it in reverse too. You don't
Yeah.
want to be taken down all the time, right? That's a big misconception as well.
Yeah.
It's like people are like, oh, you're a jiu-jitsu black belt. Well, like, what if you're going against 5-6 guys? Well, I'm not going to try to take someone down. First of all, if you're going against 5 or 6 guys, good luck. You're probably, there's a lot of misconception.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
A few altercations in my life.
Yeah, there's some people that pull it off, but like most realistically, if you're going against multiple attackers, you're probably in for a long night. But if you can, you don't want to go. That's not the situation where you want to be taking people down. It's when you want to use it in reverse and stay on your feet. And then, of course, you want to be able to take someone down if you have to, right? You don't want to just be pulling guard. Like the sport jiu-jitsu aspect has made people sit guard and play the points game, but you want to be able to take someone down when you need to.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, did you study any judo?
Not formally. I've taken classes, taken seminars. I was fortunate enough actually to have a judo black belt start with me when I was a white belt. Shout out to Judo Jim Purcell. Was a good training partner of mine.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot. Also, Professor Carl was very strong with judo from Renzo Gracie lineage, and all the Renzo Gracie guys that I just mentioned before have all I've learned from all those guys.
Now, Jim actually gave you a compliment once. I don't know if you ever heard this. He actually thinks that your judo is like the equivalent to like a brown belt.
Yeah, I don't think so. But,
that's what he says.
Yeah, maybe one or two throws every now and then. Broken clock's right twice a day, so every once in a while I can do something right. But I think I'm still a low level in judo, But it's nice. It's a nice compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, and then one of the things I also noticed about you is that your game is very well balanced.
Yeah.
Like some people just do guard, some people are really good on top, some people are really good with leg locks. You seem to be well rounded. What do you think attributed to that? Did you train that way, or does it just happen to be that way?
Just, I don't know, like I do have some specialties for sure, but I think just a lot of time on the mat. Been doing this for almost 12 years now, so you hang around jiu-jitsu long enough, if you as long as you're open-minded and you practice a lot of different things. Like if I see something in jiu-jitsu, I don't want to ignore that and be like, whatever. I want to learn what that is, even if I'm not going to use it. So at least, especially as an instructor, I want to be able to relay that information to my students, in case they run up against that, how to counter that. What are the major pitfalls that you don't want to walk into there? But I just like to open my game up and play different things. Like, my style of jiu-jitsu is never just to force my game upon people and just be like linear, right? If you don't want to meet force with force. If you're trying to be rough with me, I'll go light and try to go around that. If you're trying to be light, I'm going to be a little bit more forceful. I always try to do the opposite of what the person's doing. So my game, I can open my game up and play a lot of different styles to make it work around people, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, what would you say would be your favorite submissions?
Leg locks. I like leg locks. Back attacks, actually. My strongest position is definitely back attacks. Yeah. If I can get that.
Now, do you prefer gi or no gi?
I like. So I'm a traditionalist. I came up in the gi. We spent a lot of probably 5 days in the gi and 2 days in the no gi, and nowadays it's mostly like 50-50. As a black belt now, I'm expanding a lot more into the no-gi, spending time on my wrestling and stuff, but I still really have a love for judo. I want to get a judo black belt in the future. I want to also, improve I'm still just going to improve everything. But, it's 50-50 for me.
Okay. Now, do you follow sports jiu-jitsu or MMA? Like, what do you mostly follow? Do you follow
everything?
You follow everything?
Everything.
Okay, you following up the ADCC?
Of course, this weekend is going to be a big weekend, rooting for all the Renzo guys. Shout out to Gordon and Gary and Nicky Ryan and all the other guys.
Now, who do you see winning the absolute division?
Well, I'm rooting for Gordon, but that's the throw. There's so many variables that go into that. How did their division go? That's a tough thing. You got guys that are upwards of 300 something pounds that are coming in. That's a tough nut to crack, no matter who you are, to deal with that, let alone adding on top of that whatever kind of variables of injuries or how your matches go. You could have 6 matches that go the full duration, and you go against a guy who's 300 pounds who's submitted all those guys. Not that that's happened before, but there's no way to shout it out who's going to win. But I think the favorites to win that, there's so many tough guys. You got everyone thinks Bouchesh is going to be his year because he's never done it before. You got a lot of. You don't even know who's in it yet, but there's some guys that are expected to be in it, and there's been a lot of injuries and pullouts this ADCC. Mm-hmm. So.
Now, you think Gordon's going to win his weight division again, or?
Man, if he was healthy, I would think so. But he's coming back from ridiculously serious injury in such a short amount of time. He's a savage.
Knee injury, right, or something? Because I see him in the videos. He's got
Yeah, he
some
completely,
advice on his leg.
tore his LCL like 6 months ago. Came back from surgery. Now he's jumping into the Olympics of grappling. Like pretty serious.
Where they do leg locks.
Yeah, where he's gonna have people throwing heat at him. Plus, he loves to troll people on the internet, so that gets them going there.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to try to kill him. So.
Now Gary's going back into it too.
Yeah,
right?
Gary jumped in. He's back. He was supposed to do MMA fight, so, but that didn't. I don't know what the details were behind that. But
Yeah, because he's 2-time silver medalist.
hmm
So do you think he'll be able to pull it off this year? Because he's been mostly focusing more on MMA.
Yeah, I always have faith in them, but they got it's like one of the most stacked cards. Like he's got one of the most stacked divisions there. I mean, anyone who's in that division could be a potential winner. But of course, I always have faith in them to get the job done.
Now for the super light, who do you think's got it? Andre Galbao? Him.
Tough to say. I mean, like I think experience plays a big role. Galbao has 3 times. I think he's 3-time super fight champion, and
I think this would be a record, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
If he wins this, I think
so.
he'll hold the record.
Yeah, but I think his wrestling may play a big role. I don't think Felipe Pena's wrestling is as good. He also came off a recent knee injury, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't like to make predictions. These guys are all could beat anyone on any given day. They could all tap each other or all beat each other on points. But I think Galbao is probably the better wrestler. I could see it playing out that way if I had to make a prediction.
Now, when you have your students come in, particularly like white belts, what are your as an instructor, what are your first thoughts as to like how am I gonna introduce jiu-jitsu to this person?
Well, jiu-jitsu could be so many different things. So I like to see what their interests are. Like, so normally when you come in, I get your experience level first. So if you call me up and you want to do an intro lesson, say, okay, like, have you ever trained before? I want to get an idea. Have you trained at other gyms? If you're familiar with jiu-jitsu, are you afraid of like making body contact? Are you getting into this for self-defense? Are you a fan of MMA? So I always like to say, like, what's your interest first? I see if they're interested in the sport of jiu-jitsu, like maybe they have a friend who competes and they saw a competition, they want to do that. Do they want to do mixed martial arts one day? So then I try to like gear a private lesson kind of in towards their what maybe some of their interests are, so they understand what jiu-jitsu is. And then from there, it's just a matter of like time on the mat. Let them jump into a regular class and start to see if it's a fit for them. Like, do they like training in my academy? I think a big part of picking the academy that you train at is choosing an instructor that you want to spend a lot of time with. So if you like the person, you like the energy in the room, are you comfortable spending a lot of time with this person? Because ultimately, if you want to get to a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you got to spend 5 to 10 years with this person, and especially if you want to do it fast, you want to do it in 5 years, you're going to be spending every day there, so you're going to be spending a lot of time.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
that's just make sure that they're comfortable there.
Okay. Now, why do you think? 'Cause I asked this question quite a few times in the past to other people. Why do you think it takes so long for a person to get their black belt in jiu-jitsu? Right? Because you did what, Kempo and Taekwondo. How long did you do those for?
I did Taekwondo only for like a year, maybe a year and a half or 2 years, but Kempo I did for 4 years.
Did you get your black belt in that?
No, I got to a brown belt, but like it's deceiving because brown belt in Kempo is like there's 3 different brown belts.
Yeah.
So it's like I got to the equivalent of like purple belt in jiu-jitsu, so I was like halfway there.
Yeah.
I didn't never like finish that. Once I started doing jiu-jitsu, I just never really looked back. It's not like I quit it, but I was actually actively doing Kempo and jiu-jitsu at the same time, and then I got injured, and I had to take some time off of both. And when I came back, I just solely focused on jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
So what do you think makes it so hard for people to learn jiu-jitsu and actually get like their black belt?
It's
You've been doing it like for what, 12 years?
Yeah, just about coming up on 12 years now. It's a tough sport. I mean, it's not like you got to be consistent. You're only as good as your last several training sessions. If you take a lot of time off, you're going to be a little rusty. Like everything is like timing. It's about knowledge. The sport is in its infancy. It keeps evolving. I think BJ Penn got his black belt in 3 years back.
Yeah.
Back when he did it. Like I don't think that's possible now.
Yeah.
I think maybe Gordon, Travis Stevens came in with another background, but if you're coming in with no other background,
Yeah, I think
like,
Gordon did it. I think it's 6 maybe. But that's like 5.
rare, yeah.
But he's training like 2 or 3 times a day.
yeah, and with the best in the world. So that's that's an exception. But it's like learning a language, and you have to like, you're not just learning a language, you're debating someone with it. So you better be on point, and you have to. There's different levels of black belt. You could be an okay black belt, or you can be like a world champion black belt. If you want, and you should always aspire to be as good as you can possibly be. So if you want to do that, you're not going to do it in a short amount of time. It's going to take a long time. Not an easy road. A lot of bumps and bruises. A lot of learning. At least for me anyway.
Me too. Now, in terms of jiu-jitsu, particularly sports jiu-jitsu, like growing up doing jiu-jitsu, like were there any particular grapplers that you admired?
Oh yeah,
particular
absolutely.
World champions, like who are your
Like coming through the
top
ranks?
3? Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, Henzo. That's like the old school Henzo and Hickson. Hickson was like the man back in the day. Everyone watched the old, if you guys haven't seen it, go watch Choke. It's a really good documentary. Enzo Gracie Legacy is another good one. Those are like the legends. You got Hodger Gracie, of course, was like the most. When I started, was at the peak, towards at the end of Hodger's competition career. I think his last except for his recent ones, like his last several competitions at the Worlds was like 2009 maybe. I could be off on that. Don't quote me on that. But like he was in the peak of, he was the man when I first started. So I watched a lot of Hodger's game. And of course, you got Marcelo Garcia, Andre Galvao was really big. I've always been a big fan of JT Torres too. He's a good competitor. I literally have watched everyone, all the Henzo guys, Gary, Tonin, Gordon. I had a good training partner coming up, Frank Rosenthal. Shout out to him. He's an amazing training partner, amazing instructor as well. But literally, I watch everyone though.
Do you subscribe to Flow Grappling?
Yep. I'm on everything. I got UFC Fight Pass, Flow Grappling.
Oh, really?
Everything, dude. I live this stuff. I watch everything.
Now, in terms of now we're going to switch over to MMA a little bit.
Sure.
Now, in terms of the upcoming Diaz versus Masvidal fight, who do you think is going to win now?
I think Masvidal's a little more well-rounded. I think I could see him giving Diaz trouble, but it's really, again, like I don't like making predictions because anything could happen. You don't know who's coming in with who's healthy, who's not. But either one of them could beat the other guys. Who's going to impose their game? Like if Diaz makes it a boxing fight, a dirty boxing fight, and maybe a jiu-jitsu fight. Not that Masvidal's jiu-jitsu's bad, but I think Masvidal throws a lot more kicks. I think he's probably more well-rounded, has more ways to win. So if he can use his tools, his versatility in there, I could see him getting the job done. If Diaz imposes his game and Masvidal kind of plays into Diaz's game, I see Diaz getting his hand
Do you think
raised.
he's going to throw some leg kicks to Diaz's legs? Because that's like whenever I've seen Diaz in trouble and when he's lost is when guys like throw a lot of leg kicks because he doesn't seem to check them at all.
Yeah. Is it a 3-round fight or is it a 5-round fight? That probably plays a big role
I'm
too.
pretty sure it's going to be a 5-round fight because it's going to be
It's
a
a
main
main
event and it's for this BMF title.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Trying to keep this child friendly.
Yeah. I think maybe 5 rounds would play into Diaz's favor too.
He thinks he's got the better cardio.
For sure, yeah, those guys are-
He does like that triathlete stuff, like he swims, he bikes,
Yeah.
and all that. Now for Juliana, I got some questions for you.
All right.
She's a little camera shy.
Are you a little camera shy? Don't be
A
shy.
little bit.
Don't be shy. Now, being a woman in jiu-jitsu, do you find it often difficult training? Because there's usually not too many women around. Do you often find it difficult to train, or?
Not really. I tend to adapt myself to my partner. When I started, there was only one girl. I started in Brazil, and it was me and another girl, and all the guys were big. So we started that way, and so I started training with that mindset that it doesn't matter who I'm going against. So just want to train and adapt myself to the game. And here I continue the same. For a while, I had a handful of girls that I trained with. It's good to practice, and because the girls give a different feeling than a man, at least for me. I usually go with the bigger guys. It's different. Girls, I guess our center of gravity is a little different than a man's, and also some strength. I feel it's a little different, and we are more flexible usually. So it is different rolling with girls and guys, but I just tend to adapt myself with anybody that I go with.
Okay. Now, for you, do you do any other type of training? Like, do you do like weightlifting or running? Like, do you do anything else to complement your jiu-jitsu training?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I do a lot of body weight calisthenics. I try to do some basic gymnastic stuff. I do some kettlebells and stuff, but you know, I have injuries from a long term, like doing martial arts for over, you know, almost 2 decades now. So I try to do things that are around my body, do what I can as I can. I don't tend to do like a lot of too much of like bodybuilding or lifting. I do some like cleans, some kettlebells, swings, snatches, just some stuff for explosiveness. But I focus a lot on the jiu-jitsu technique. I'm kind of old school in that regard. It's probably not necessarily the best thing to do if you want to be like modern day athletes. These guys, you got to train like a professional athlete. You got to be doing everything. But you know, I just do enough to keep myself healthy to train every day. Since now it's it's a business for me as well.
Okay. Now, what about in terms of flexibility? I know you're very flexible. Do you do like yoga or anything like that?
Yeah, I love yoga, hot yoga. I'm big. We actually have hot yoga here at the gym. We have regular yoga here as well in our facility. So that's awesome. I do love to do that. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to do it, so I just do regular yoga at my house when I can. But I'm a big believer in flexibility. Try to stretch, avoid as many injuries as possible. And the better you can move your body, the better you're going to be able to do any kind of sport. You know, just move in general. You want to be able to be mobile. That's a big thing.
Okay. Now, do you follow the Gracie diet?
No, I follow the seafood diet. What I see, I eat.
That's crazy. Now, in terms of your program, like when did you guys open up here?
So it's been about 4 months. We're still in the beginning stages. So we opened up in May, and now we're just getting back into like back to school time. We had the summer, we've got some initial members, and things are now picking up more now that people are back on the regular schedule, not spending all their days at the beaches. So it's good.
Okay, now just so everybody knows, I just want to throw this out there just in case I didn't throw it out there. School is located in Ramapo, New Jersey.
Yeah, Mahwah, New Jersey,
Mahwah.
aka Ramapo Valley, hence the Henzo Gracie Ramapo Valley.
And what's the address of this place? 95?
McKee Drive.
95 McKee Drive.
We're right off Route 17.
Okay, and it's a great facility. They got the mat space. You get if you wanted to get like a weightlifting workout back there, you can also do that after the class as well. Now, in terms of your program here, another thing I liked about what you do and what Carl did is that you actually broke up the schedule where you actually have a program where you split up the sparring part from the class. Which most schools don't. It's usually like the class might be just an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and they work it out in that time frame. I personally like it because if you just want to get good cardio workout that day and you just want to be in and out, you just go right for the randor and you're in and out.
Right.
And if for some reason you're banged up and you don't want to roll, you can just go to the class and still get some benefit out of it.
Yeah.
What made you decide to keep that type of schedule?
I think it had a lot of benefits when we switched over to it. Not only did it offer more options to the customer, which I think is good. Like you said, like you have some people that are injured and they don't want to come in. Like if you have a class where it's just like the old school jiu-jitsu is like an hour and a half, or maybe like it just says an hour and a half on the schedule, but sometimes you're rolling for 3 hours and there's no like guideline as far as what's going on. That can be intimidating for someone that's injured, and then they end up staying home on the couch. I want to see you guys come in and train whenever you're possible. Like even if you're injured, the jiu-jitsu has so many things you can do. You can work around injuries. I have a lot of students. Some people have banged up foot or something. Some people have like physical limitations and coming back from a back surgery. Like you trained today, you just had a foot surgery.
Yeah.
We were able to have a great training session, and so dividing up the class like that. I think it's important because the consumer can come in and they can choose to do just the drilling, or if they want to do just the rolling, that's good. And then also, there's a lot of technique that goes into jiu-jitsu. I'm big on details. I'm big on trying to work on all these things and use 45 minutes to focus on that. And then you guys, if you can stick around, you do a lot of training sessions. But the only downfall of that is some of you guys out there are just skipping the drilling and they're coming in just rolling, and some of you guys are skipping the rolling and just coming in and drilling. You're supposed to do both. You can skip and do one or the other, but make sure you guys are getting them both in whenever you can. Don't be skipping.
Now, if they wanted to contact the school, because the thing's probably going to stop soon, the timer, how would they get in touch with you? Is there like a phone number or just a website? Like, how would they get in touch with you?
Yep.
If
So
they want to set up like the introductory class.
yeah, our website is rvbjj.com, like Ramapo Valley Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.com, and my phone number is 201-580-0581. You can reach out to us.
So
Okay.
social media, Facebook, Instagram,
Yep.
we always answer anybody who
Okay.
calls us.
All right, guys. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We got to get you guys here on the mat. Renzo Gracie, Ramapo Valley. Dan, it was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Juliana, it was great
Thank
seeing
you.
My
you
pleasure.
again.